This Tech Tuesday is about the note-taking app Evernote. You can recognize Evernote by a green square with a gray elephant face icon. I like Evernote because it allows students to take notes and record notes offline wherever they are, and then it backs up to an online service. The very first thing you will need to do when you kind of go on to Evernote is to create an account. I had all the students use their school usernames, the school passwords, and their school email addresses when they're creating an account. And then you just have to sign in. Okay, so now that you have an account, let's see what we can do with Evernote. So when you first open up the app, this is kind of the screen you'll see. And you'll have like notes, notebooks, tags, places, and a kind of quick link system to get to a new note, add a camera shot, create an attachment or an audio. Now, you'll probably only have one notebook in this screen, and the first thing I want to do is show you a little bit about how I use Evernote and some of its capabilities. So, I first got into Evernote last year, and I started using it to keep track of all of the meetings I went to. So I have kind of a meeting notebook, and it's really kind of consists of 3 different meetings: my BLT, DLT, and making middle grades work. I also, and I had 3 different because at the time I had a lot of e-tech notes, and then just random different professional development things and FIP. And so one thing you can do with Evernote is sort of stack your notebooks, which is where I have these little drop-down menus. You will probably only have one notebook in your section, and it'll be your personal one that is with the account that you started up on. And it'll say like, H. Perry's notebook if I designed it under my username H. Perry. Mine's under Heidi Bug. And then the other thing I have here, so in addition to my notes, and if you kind of look at the notebooks, the numbers on the other side, that 27, well, I guess there's 8, 3, 27, 24, that number indicates how many notes are in that notebook. So those are my notebooks, and underneath that I have this thing that says joined notebooks. Joined notebooks are all the notebooks that have been shared with me. And I have my students share their their language arts notebooks and their science notebooks. The name of the notebook is what you kind of see in the big letters, and then the small underneath, like the 17C Clark, LA 17 Dixon C is the name of the notebook, but 17C Dixon is the username. So I had all my students, when they created their accounts, to use their school username, and I had them create a notebook. I have language arts notebooks here. And if we can kind of look at one thing I really like about these notebooks is every time they start a new note, it catalogs the date. So I can kind of see when my students have been doing their writing. And so I can see that, okay, this story was from October 2nd. And we're looking at kind of different stories. She has some different things all the way kind of going back through August and when she's doing her writing. The other thing I like with Evernote, there's a lot of my language arts ones. Oops. Let's see. In this notebook, I know we have some. The other part I like about Evernote is its capability to add pictures and add audio to it. So if we come down here, you'll see this note. I had asked my students to kind of put this drawing into their notes when we were talking about speed, distance, and time, and the equations for looking at that. So to help remember, if you're trying to find speed, what's the equation? If you're trying to find distance, what's the equation? I had them draw this DST triangle to kind of show them how to get to all 3 of the equations that they will need. Another thing what I kind of like is how it just adds that right into the day of their notes. Here is when I had them look at a microscope, and they had to draw what they saw under the microscope and kind of say what they think, what they thought it was. So they had 2 different slides to draw. This student is only drawing in black. They do have other options of colors. He just kind of tends to stick to black. The other thing you can do with Evernote is add audio to your notes. I believe that this audio is going to be when I ask them to kind of make a movie or kind of record a movie or record information of how something moves. So let's actually see what it is, if it will play. I am not hearing anything, so maybe with the screencast going on, the play is not going to work. I've recorded things when I've been driving, and an idea came to me that I wasn't able to get to. You know, when you're driving, I can't really write or type, so I just kind of hit the record button on Evernote. And while I was driving, I just started talking and then telling the idea that I had as a recording. I was able to listen to it later and turn it into the words or what I needed to do with it. So Evernote, you can add a bunch of things into your notes like that. You can take pictures and snapshots into that as well. And it has a lot of different functions. So let's kind of start from here and get you through creating a notebook and what it is we kind of need to do. So when you're on the screen, notebooks, your notebook should slide over and you'll see your one notebook, your kind of personal or your username kind of notebook. And so at the top of the screen, there is a little icon all the way kind of that has this little notebook with a plus symbol. And when you touch on that, it'll say new notebook, and you can kind of give it a name. I'm just going to say Tech Tuesday and click OK. So now there will be, it kind of takes a second for the sync to start, but now I'll have a new notebook. Down here you can see my Tech Tuesday notebook. That's private. And as you can see, the Tech Tuesday notebook, there's 0 notes in it, which showing it that's empty. So when I click on it, you'll see, it gives you that little note, this little message, this notebook is empty. So let's add our first note into this notebook. And the way you do that, across the green bar at the top, there's a little icon that looks like a piece of paper with a corner folded over and a plus symbol. And when you click on that, you have a new note. And I'm going to put in title where it says note title, just so you can see what that looks like when we start looking at our notes. And then we can type in under note content anything we want to say in our notes. And so we can talk about the meeting or however we want to kind of put in the notes that we said in class, and anything we want to say. There are a few editing kind of features. We can put in bold words using this B down here, and we can kind of bold our words, or we can also add in italics, and I kind of showed that it's still going to be bold. I'm going to take off bold and italics, and I'll say, and we can underline our words using the U. And so those are pretty much our main features that we have for kind of editing what the text looks like, at least on the tablets. And the other thing we can do is we can make numbered lists, and a recent feature enables us to the recent feature enables us to even tab over in our list. And so if I actually want to come up here and say, nope, I really want that to be kind of more indented, and here's, you know, the next item, and your major item there, and kind of item, it will kind of give us this numbered list. In addition to that, we can also do a bulleted list. And again, it allows us to tab over any kind of items that we want to kind of tab over. if I take the bullet off. And so we can do this bulleted list as well. The last icon on that kind of editing row at the very bottom is that checklist. I think is really neat because it allows us to create a to-do list. And when we're just looking at the note and it's not even in where we can edit and type on the note, it allows us to click on that checkbox. Ooh, I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. So it kind of switched over. Hit the bottom kind of sketch icon. I'll get to there in a minute. But we can kind of do this to do. And it allows you to, I can actually click the box, kind of check mark these boxes. And so, oops, I want to keep that as a checkbox. I want to go back up to here and keep this one as a check. All right. It's not really. There we go. Checkbox. To do. List. And we'll take that one off. We can get rid of those. And so that'll allow us to do that. I'm going to go ahead and save this note. And that rest here at the top allows you to save. And it gives you that checklist, or that check mark. And that usually means that it did save. And if you click, your note should show up. It's kind of a little scary for that second when it says, you know, this notebook is still empty. But when you click that save, it does get backed up to Evernote, and then your note should show up. And so now in our, it shows that we do have one note when we click on our Tech Tuesday notebook. Here's that note, and there's a title, and it actually November, and at 3:08, I was working on making that note. And when I click on it, that note will open up, and we can see everything that we wrote on it. Now, those check boxes will work, but I can't actually, if I kind of touch the screen anywhere, it won't let me actually edit or write on it. In order to write or change the note, I need to go up to the green bar at the top, and that pencil will allow me to be able to go back into this note and make any kind of editing changes I want to do. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to show you what some of these first icons are for on the bottom. So this very first icon on the bottom with the heart with that plus sign, that is to add a picture into your notes. So say if you wanted that DST triangle, students to draw that into their notes, they'll press that button with the heart, and what that will do is it'll open up the program Sketch. And open up, and what Sketch allows us to do, this top icon here allows you to change the color. So say I want to make my triangle blue, and this button slider here allows me to change the thickness of my lines. So there's my one line. So there's my, let's see, here's my basic triangle. And then let's say I want to put the letters in green, but I want to make them a little bit thinner. And DST. I can do my DST triangle. I can do arrows. I can make changing the size. I'm going to undo that arrow for a second. But I can change the color of my arrow and change the thickness of my arrow using that same thing there. This button will allow me to move that slightly around. And I tap it again and it's off. And if I want to do any kind of writing, and I'm going to make this a DST triangle. And so I can label my picture as well as to what I want done. Maybe this I'm going to say, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller in font. I want to say that this stands for distance. And I can say what, label and add anything in I want to my drawing here. And when I am done with my drawing, under the undo button, so along the other side where you have the trash can to trash it, you have the arrow to undo, the back arrow to undo, and at the very bottom is that Evernote symbol. And what that means is it's going to send the note into into Evernote. And so here you can say it's saving. And now we're in Evernote, and you can see that that little icon, that picture, was saved in here. And so you can kind of say, hey, our DST triangle, I guess it doesn't like DST, the DST triangle was used during Sketch, was used or created, was created with Sketch. Now, you don't have to go to Sketch directly from Evernote. You could have had a drawing in Sketch and then decide, okay, I want to save that into Evernote. And you can use it, you'll always see that little Evernote symbol whenever you're in Sketch, and it will save that note, save that drawing into Evernote. So that's kind of using Sketch. And in order to kind of see that, if we go done, we should have note pop up here with our picture, hopefully. And then we'll add some audio into our drawing, and we will add, audio, we can add a camera shot. And so now in our drawing, the DST was created with Sketch. I never actually wrote Sketch, so let's go back in and edit that, and let's add the word Sketch in there. So go to that pencil, it's going to open it up. And I believe the drawing will go at the bottom of your screen. So that's using Sketch, and that's how you get a drawing into your notebook. There we go. On the bottom there is a bunch of icons, or actually they look like microphones. There's one that has a gray sort of dialogue circle around it with a white microphone, and then beside that we have a big gray microphone. The microphone with the white microphone with the gray circle is a new addition to Evernote. It was just added to this last recent update, and it's supposed to be a speech-to-text function, or talk into Evernote, that it would put that into text. I have not been able to work yet, so I'm hoping maybe that's just a feature that they are just starting and they're going to be adding to and working on. In order to add audio to your Evernote, I would use that icon next to it, that gray icon for the gray microphone. When you click on that, oh, it just told me, oh, goodness gracious. I know, voice capture is failing when I try this right now because I am recording audio using the screencast in order for you guys to see what is happening. But basically what you would see is a little thing would pop up, and you'd be able to record your voice with it, and it has a little stop button for when you're done. And then, like you saw with my student's notebook, there would be that little audio clip that would be attached to the note. So that is that. And then I don't really use the, we have the camera shot. I'm going to kind of move on to that one. So here, if you wanted to take a picture with Evernote, I really don't want to, so maybe we'll just kind of say this. And you wanted to add kind of picture to Evernote, then let's see, we're going to click done, and then we'll have this picture also added into it. So at the very top there we have our picture as well as our DST triangle, kind of both of those being things added into Evernote. Next to that is a little paper clip to attach files. I have not really used that much, mainly because I'm doing this on my Android or my iPad, and I don't really have any files that I want to attach to the notes. And then the one next to that is to tag. So if you are wanting to kind of tag, have in your notes have like, maybe recipes if you collect recipes, or if you have different things across different notes. Again, it's not a feature that I use very much to tag notes. The next one in between the sketch icon and the tag I think is a really neat one. That's a little book. And that's very helpful if you end up putting a note, creating a note in a notebook that you don't want it in. So if you have multiple notebooks like I do, and you say, okay, this note that I have here in the Tech Tuesday really shouldn't be here in Tech Tuesday. It should really be in my professional development notebook, or it really should be in my e-tech or my FIP notebook. And then what will happen is you click OK, and it will move it into that notebook. So that's a way, a lot of times I have students when they're very first starting with it. And from that first screen, if instead we did not go into books and click notebooks and go in through that way, and if instead we went just straight to new note, that new note will always go into your personal notebook. So say you're, writing this in science class, or you're writing this in language arts class, and you just click new note, you will always have to go to that little notebook feature and kind of say, okay, this is actually should be going into my science notebook. And now it says across the top, new note in science topics. So that's a quick way to change your notes in your notebook. Another feature here that I want to kind of share with you is how to share notebooks. And so how to get all of your students to so you can actually see your students' notebooks. On your notebook, when you kind of go to the My Notebooks, your books, and you get to your My Notebooks, and say that Tech Tuesday I wanted to share with someone. So all the way on the corner where it has that one note and there's that little triangle, I'm going to click that triangle and I'm going to get this little screen, and I want to go to sharing settings. When I click sharing settings, where I can say I'm going to add people, and I'm going to add the email address of the person or the people I want to share this notebook with. Unfortunately, this does take a long time to kind of come up. As you can see, there is that little wait period. And then you can click Add People. And you will eventually be given to a screen that enables you to put in someone's email address. You would add the email address up here. And then you can add them to Vite. You basically want them, if they're sharing it with you, I had my students basically leave it as view notes and activity. And then I had them just invite me. And so I got an email from them basically showing me that they've allowed me to see their notebook. And then I was able to, I did all this on the computer. So from the computer, when it said I had my email from them, I clicked, I could see their notebook, and I clicked join, and that enabled me to get all of these joined notebooks that from their email to me. So for your task, and what I would like you guys to do for your own task, is to create a new notebook and add a note to it. And in that note, I want to see an audio, a picture, and a sketch drawing. So use your camera shot, add in sketch, add in the audio that we talked about, and I also want to see, so those three things kind of added into it, and then share that note with me. So you can either share the entire notebook, which we just talked about with using that corner icon. The other option is to share just one note. So if you wanted to share just one note, at the very top here, next to the pencil icon, is that triangle or that sideways triangle or an open greater than sign or whatever. When you click on that, that enables you to share in a note through Gmail or into the Drive or different places. You can share just that one note with me through my Gmail, through the hperry@nationaltrail.us. Or you can share the entire notebook with me. When students do share notebooks with you, you can't edit them. So if I am on a joined, student's notebook, I can't go in and edit any kind of notes that were here. I don't have that capability. All I am able to do is just see it. That pencil is grayed out. And so that is pretty much Evernote. So hopefully you'll be able to use this with your students and got something out of this session. All right, I look forward to seeing your notes.